So basically, horizon line. I want to sketch a big fender. So arch, arch, arch here. I'm going to build a form like that. There has, in perspective, I'm going to sketch those construction lines. I might want to fix this. It doesn't have to be super precise because the goal of the exercise is not really to deliver a great design, is to deliver good communication of the material, which is going to be chrome, and the sky scenarios. So it will be doing something like this. That's my form. And speaking of what happens here, I might have to extend this a little bit. I'll sketch an arch here. A little bit more round. That's the other surface. And probably the inner arch. We'll be doing this. Where's the central line? It will be here. And of course, it rolls down like this. Okay. The exercise is going to be about, once we have it, we are going to render this, imagine it to be super reflective, kind of like chrome, and we have to do it at with light coming from the top and with light set at sunset. Okay, the first thing that I'm going to do is to show you basically what happens at daylight and sunset light. I'm going to start with the daylight. So let's check what happens in the sky. The sky scenario is going to be basically like this. The blue is very deep. It gets lighter towards the horizon line. The mountains can be basically brownish, like this. And of course, because the light is coming from the top, this is very lighter, and some parts of the mountains could be, of course, darker, those not receiving any light. The light source will be like this. It's like a single dot, and it's set on top of the sky, for creating a very vertical light source. Okay, how do we render this object? The first thing that I'm going to do is to imagine where the shadow is. If the light is coming from the top, I'm expecting a shadow under the object. And if I want the object to be disconnected from the ground, I am going to sketch the shadow not perfectly matching the object. How do I render it? I'm just gonna make a new path. I am going to follow the sketch. So So the importance of having a well done line drawing, it's crucial because it makes you, it's just going to look better. Shift F6, set to 2. What a shadow is going to look like. I'm going to take the color of the ground. I'm going to darken it. And I'm going to do this. Inside, maybe I put some black. The shadow most of the time also on the other side it gets a little bit of blue. Okay, so that's the shadow. And now I'm going to render the form. I'm going to make a path, sketching basically all the upper. No, I'm actually going to make a path of everything. So I don't care about the other surface for now. So it's a chrome fender. The first thing that I'm going to do is to do what? I am going to bring with the airbrush, a very deep blue on top of the object. And then there should be a lighter blue on the outside. Even here, of course, now I'm going to sketch a form here. This is the inner part. You won't receive any you won't receive any light, so it can be dark like that. Okay, great. The next thing that we're going to do is remember what I was talking about before. There are two surfaces here. The shoulder of the fender is belonging to a different plane, so a good way to communicate that super fast is to make a selection and Control U, reduce the lightness. It's a super effective way to build form. If you notice, I read it already. It would be better probably to add a little bit of feathers so the transition between one surface and the other probably looks better. Okay, great. Speaking of chrome, it's going to be very reflective. So what chrome does, we expect to receive this ground into the object. We have mountains on the foreground, so in the chrome scenario, those mountains should create this effect here. This is basically a flat plane. So with the marker, I'm just going to do something like this. Outside the mountains, now I have to make a new path, of course. It's like that surface is like the side of a box, so I have to introduce that transition like this. It would get kind of bluish here, of course, but not as blue as the very top. The sun in a chrome object is always being reflected here. And you can, if you want, I mean, some people do it, but if there is a little edge here, that wouldn't happen really, but you can eventually sketch something. I mean, I didn't do it accurately, but I think it's possible to add something like that just to, well, it doesn't have a good form. I should have cleaned it up, but adding something between the transition, between the two surfaces. I can also deepen the blue because we don't get to see it, but the sky above the object is probably way darker here. And something that we can do is always to go back at the end here and create that reflective light right here. It's very important to communicate roundness. If you notice now, it looks actually way better. Of course, I would do all these little things in different layers. What happens to the mountains? Most of the time, if they happen here, they would get distorted like this. This is like a sphere, basically. And it is possible that you have a little bit of that. But for the most part, these wouldn't be. How do you know if they are going to be reflected? Well, you should sketch a normal to the surfaces. A normal to this surface is looking up, so still is going to catch the sky here. So you won't find mountains like that. Maybe what you could find is very close, a little bit of the ground getting into the object like that. Probably this could happen. So Chrome does this basically with light coming from the top. And now we do the same exercise with the sunset light. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to sketch what happens to the environment, and first of all, where do we want the sunset to come from the left? So I'm going to check what happens to the sky first. Usually very close to the horizon line, there is all the moisture of the atmosphere. It's usually kind of purple. And then little by little it becomes bluish, and of course there is a progression, and it's gonna get way deeper and way darker sunset. So there is less light, that's why it's sunset. If the light is coming from the right though, which means from here, it will get lightened up. It will be very yellow all around the light. And then, you know, according to, there will be some red as well, usually. Then it really depends on what happens with the, but there is a lot of red as well. And then the red melts with the blue, so that's why you get all the purples as well. But I think this is possible, and that the sun then is going to, you know, create all those crazy effects. But all around there should be a lot of yellow here. Great. What happens to the mountains? The mountains will be darker, for sure. If we want to simplify a lot, usually at sunset, you know, this is going to be the, you know, the scene. The ground is basically facing the top, so it gets very cold. But because the light is coming from the right, I mean, I can have also something like that. And actually, each of these mountains will be receiving some warmer's value. Okay, so that's pretty much what the sunset does. Let's try to render the shadow. The first thing that I'm going to do is what? The rendering of the shadow. The shadow has to be very long. So I'm just going to sketch a super long shadow. So I'm going to sketch a path right here. And I don't really care to know if there we go. The shadow is going to be very, very black. Maybe it gets a little lighter here, but that's pretty much what we expect. The next step is to take what? I'm gonna take the side. I'm expecting these to receive a lot of light. Probably here it gets a little bluish, but towards here, a lot of light. I'm literally cloning these colors here. And here I'm darkening it up. And I'm gonna work on the top. The top is going to be towards the bottom here, and I can expect this to become a little lighter. Reflective light is basically casting this into the object. I can imagine the sky at the top being even darker, so I can, in the center of the object, darken it up even more. like this. Very important to add the reflective light here. And very important to also darken this side here more. No, probably too much. I'll leave it like that. Now it's time to sketch the mountains. And of course, I have to sketch the other part, the sun here. So basically, what I'm doing here is the sun behind the mountain. So this part here is the back of the mountain being reflected. Of course, to do a great job at this would be properly done, you know, it should be dark. So speaking about Chrome, remember that it's all about mirroring the sky or the atmosphere or whatever you have into the object. That's pretty much what Chrome does. There are many cliches to do it, and but I think this is a good approach to start understanding how the material, in this case Chrome, can help to communicate also the form of the object. You know, we can add a little bit of white, like a little highlight. I think this is not everywhere, but you know, it can sometimes. I think this little thing always work. And then you can at the end, you know, add the highlight, and you know, and do effects like with the white. You can just make a big, you know, the typical, probably too much. Here we go. At the end, if you really want to communicate what the light is doing, it's always good to do things like this. Okay. So again, let's check the two scenarios. Light from the top, Chrome, light at sunset, so top, sunset. This is a great exercise that I encourage you to do, and I bring it in next class. Remember, next grade assignment is a three-wheeler, so next class I'll try to approach a quick design of a three-wheeler real quick, and then we go from there. But do this. This is great. It's very important for you to grow with your technique.